Good afternoon, everyone. Today I am going to present Neo-Colonial Capitalism in Petals of Blood. Academic information, table of contents, research questions. How does Petal of Blood represent Neo-Colonial capitalism in a post-independence Kenya? In what ways does Gugi portrays the class struggle through the transformation of Ilmog and its characters? How does Marxist framework help in understanding economic exploitation and elite corruption in the novel? Hypothesis. This study hypothesizes that Petals of Blood expose post-independence Kenya as a neo-colonial capitalist state where a political freedom masks continue economic exploitation. Through a Marxist lens, the novel demonstrates that the African elite replaces colonial rules but sustains class oppression and structural inequalities. Introduction. Petals of Blood by Gugiwa Thiong'o is a powerful political novel that examines the condition of post-independence Kenya. Through the transformating of Ilmorg and the struggle of peasants, worker, and women, the novel critiques neo-colonial capitalism and exposes the resistance of a class exploitations. Using a Marxist perspective, it reveals how independence did not dismantle oppressive structures but reshape them under a local elite with a global capital. Historical context post independence Kenya. So, after gaining independence from Britain in 1963, under a Jomo Kenyatta, Kenya entered a period of national optimism. So, political freedom is not did bring economic independence. So, economic structures, cash crops, dependency, land privatization, and reliance on foreign capital so remained largely unchanged. Instead of redistributing land to peasants who fought in the Mau Mau struggle, much of it was transferred to a small African elites. In Nyakunya's case, we found these things. This emerging bourgeoisie class collaborated with the multinational corporations, maintaining Kenya's dependence on a global capitalism. So, wealth constructed in urban centers while rural communities continue to suffer poverty and displacement. In Ilmorg, we found that how the people are suffer. So, in this context of economic betrayal and class inequality, Petals of Blood exposes how independence reshaped rather than a dismantled system of exploitation. What is neo-colonial capitalism? So, neo-colonial capitalism it refers to a system in which a country is politically independent but remains economically, culturally, and politically controlled by external powers. So, unlike a classical colonialism, they rule through a military occupations, but here we find that indirectly rules through economic dependency, foreign investment, multinational corporations, trade agreement, and international financial institutions. The term was popularized by Kwame Krumras in his book Neo-Colonialism, The Last Stage of Imperialism, 1965, where he argued that formal colonies continues to serve the economic interest of Western capitalist nations even after independence. So, according to him, political flags and national anthems may change, but economic power remains in foreign hands. So here we find that in Petal of Blood, Kenya's post-independence leadership maintains a colonial economic structures, allowing an African bourgeoisie class to replace European colonizers without transforming a system of exploitation. Here, a Marxist framework. So the Marxist framework, based on the theory of class struggle development by Karl Marx, argues that society is divided between bourgeoisies and proletariat. So capitalism functions through exploitations where workers produce a surplus value but remain economically oppressed. So first is class struggle. So conflict between the ruling class and the working class. Then a bourgeoisie versus a proletariat. Owner exploits laborers for their profits. A surplus value. So worker creates a more value than they are paid. Ideology, institutions like education and religion justify inequality. false consciousness, workers are prevented from organizing their exploitations. So, in here, petals of blood, the emerging Africa elites function as the bourgeoisie. So, collaborating with multinational corporations and controlling wealth. Ilmorg from village to a capitalist town. So, Ilmorg began as a drought-stricken rural community, depend on collective survival. So, it transformed into a new Ilmorg. So, a commercialized town filled with banks, breweries, and the factories. Then, land as a site of exploitation. So, land in African societies is not merely a property; it is identity, history, and survival. Former peasants lost ancestral land to corporations and private investors. So, this shifts from a communal ownership to a private property reflects a capitalist restructuring. A comparator bourgeoisie. So characters like Chimeria, Chui, and Mizigo represents the comparator bourgeoisie. They accumulate wealth through corruption, bribery, and exploitations. Karega. So a revolutionary consciousness. Karega represents the awakening of political and class consciousness with the post-independence Kenya. So, unlike other characters, Karega remain trapped within personal struggles, and Karega gradually understand that poverty and suffering are not accidental but systematic. His belief in a worker solidarity reflects a Marxist idea of collective struggle. Vanja's character demonstrates how neo-colonial capitalism commodifies both land and the human body. She forced into a prostitution due to economic hardship. Also, a bar owner in a new Ilmorg. Then Munira, a moral paralysis. So Munira represents the educated but a passive intellectual in a post-independent society. He is aware of social injustice, but a lacks of courage to act decisively. Then religion as ideology. Religion in the novel functions both as a comfort and as a tool ideological control. This aligns with Marxist ideas that religion can mask material suffering and divert attention from economic inequality. Gugi does not attack a faith itself, but rather he critiques how religious institutions become aligned with capitalist power structure. Industrialization and worker exploitations. So, development of factories and breweries in a new Ilmok symbolize the arrival of industrial capitalism. Although presented as a progress, industrialization primarily benefits businessmen and foreign investors. The fire is a symbol of resistance. So the climatic fire that kills the corrupt businessmen is one of the most powerful symbol in the novel. The fire function as a both a destruction and a purification, destroying corruption capitalist figure while symbolically clearing a space for renewal. Then narrative structure and collective guilt. The novel begins with the murder investigation, framing the story through a flashback and testimonies. So this structure shifts places neo-colonial capitalism itself on a trial. The fragmented narrative mirrors the fractured reality of post-independence Kenya. Language and cultural resistance. So, although Petals of Blood written in English, Gugi later rejected English as a colonial language and decolonizing in the mind. Gender and class intersections. Woman in the novel experiences a double marginalization as a member of the exploitation class and within a patriarchal society. Global capital and dependency. Kenya's economy in the novel remains tied to foreign banks, investors, and multinational corporations. Then Gugi's political vision. So Gugi does not merely describe exploitation; he imagines a resistance through Karega and the idea of worker solidarity. He suggests that change must come from collective organization. In conclusion, Petals of Blood powerfully exposes the illusion of independence in post-colonial Kenya through a Marxist lens. The novel reveals how political freedom did not bring economic justice. Instead, the colonial systems of exploitations were continued by a new African elites class that collaborate with the foreign capital. The transformation of Ilmok symbolizes how capitalism penetrates a rural life, commodify human relationship, and depends inequality. Gugi ultimately suggests that a true liberation requires more than a national independence. It demands a structural change, class consciousness, and resistance against a neo-colonial capitalism. The novel therefore stands as both a literary work and a political critique, urging readers to question system of power and envision a more just, equitable society. Here is an infographic about a whole presentation. The problem of neo-colonial trap, neo-colonial alliances, Karega, Vanja, and Chimeria's character, the fire as a purification, the solution, consciousness, and resistance. References, and thank you. Now you are free to ask questions.
Okay. So my question is, why is a class struggle important in understanding post-colonial societies?
Class struggle shows us that shows us a rich and poor conflict in the society after even independence. So, study of class struggle, we find that this is not personal issues, but it is a part of a large economic system as well.
Devangini, my question: how does Munira's character show inner conflict?
Yes, Munira's character shows conflicted character here. He feels jealousy, also personal struggles, personal failures. So Munira knows that there are problems in the society, but he just try to ignore them. So here we find that Munira's character is feels the inner conflict. Thank you.